what he's created is amazing, and I just want you to listen to this very carefully. Thanks.
Well, to be truthful, we believe that God created it, and I just got to ride along on it and don't screw it up kind of advice, but I'm very thankful for the miracles that happen there, it seems like every day. Just some logistics, you can read that on there. It is an all-male facility. Boys that are go down to 13, we'll go up to 25, 26, with young adults and adolescents, because they're all about the same age inside, especially when you have the trauma and different things with family. Average about 100 days, 102 I think exactly right now. We are a Christ-centered program. That's one of our big peak questions. I put all the peak questions on the internet on video, because that's kind of the question somebody's going to say, what, a bunch of holy rollers handling snakes and doing stuff like that, or what? It's not a religious kind of church sign on the building. Most of the time our guys start off, is there a God? And if there is, did he screw me over by letting me be born? So we kind of start there and work our way toward just believing in truth. One of my favorite groups to do is how to have the greatest sex in the world. And it's pretty funny to watch those guys walk in and see on the board, how to have the greatest sex in the world. Let's see, it's about the pursuit of the greatest orgasm. We're going to look at different ways to approach that today as atheists. And we're not atheists because that's our belief. We're atheists because there ain't no God. So it's like, so let's look at porn. Now let's look at the CAD, trying to pick up women like Charlie Sheen. Now let's look at long-term marriage. Oh, and they have twice as many sexual encounters and twice the satisfaction level per encounter as all that other stuff, and you end up with erectile dysfunction if you look at porn. So they're like, happens to be what God promotes. So we kind of backdoor all the biblical spiritual truths for that. I guess our signature is the training of our therapists. We started off with 16 beds and 8 people working. We had one resident on the day before 9/11 and then didn't get a call for 2 weeks, and we really did good with him. We therapized him to death. But then now our forte is all of our guys are master's level at least, MFT. There's 3 of us with PhDs, 3 more all but dissertation in MFT. They're either licensed as LPC, LMFT, or both. All of us are CSATs or CSAT in process, because in a 2-year period, once they're hired, they'll have all the following: CSAT, CMAT, emphasis on chemicals, EMDR 1 and 2. And we're in the 5th module, or ready for it, with the certified trauma training with Judy Crane, which has been awesome, and I would encourage all of you and all that. We don't just deal with chemical abuse and addictions. We have boys there right now that haven't done any drugs. You know, it's like it's chemical, process, sexual. We have 2 boys there right now as they're sick physically. They're getting anxious and they shut down and throw up. One's got a throw up disorder, never heard of that in my life with this kid. The other one has a Crohn's diagnosis, and both of them are like so vintage old MFT theory of symptoms of the system. And so the marital family therapy is where we're working with those guys. We've had some guys there that all they did was cut, and that was what was relieving the pain, because we look at all of that as avoidance patterns, intimacy disorders or filling the void of intimacy, trauma pain medication, trauma numbness antidote, feel something, or a self-sabotage pattern. So that's what we kind of specialize in. We do canine therapy in a special way. We give the boys a registered, AKC registered lab puppy when they get there. They take it home with them. A wonderful aftercare therapist has never asked a stupid question yet in the history of Capstone. They just listen and they look and they love on you. That's something that a lot of people think, you know, that's just kind of a gimmick. No, it's very much about attachment neural pathways with our guys, and having something that is a relapse prevention tool. When they get out, they get with their dog. We call it the escape plan. If they get triggered, you know, they get with that dog and get with a person. How we use that on campus, we do a lot of trauma work. If you wanted to ask what do we do mainly we do trauma work. We have a little boy there who has been hurt really badly. He's been in some kind of long-term program for a year that didn't do any trauma work, and he's been acting out sexually in ways that are pretty gross. It has to do with poop, diapers, and a whole lot of things that are just really, really gross. And you're thinking, oh, that kid's sick, let's get rid of him. No, that kid's just a regular kid who's hurt, and what he's done is something he's done to survive to this point. So he had a real tough session the other day, came out and was kind of walking around like this. He's just 14 years old. You know, and I called him over and I said, tell me what's going on with your therapy today. And he said, I just realized that the stuff I did was because of the stuff that was done to me. And that week was our core concept group. We have modules every week, and one of our core concepts is what makes this make sense. Not what makes it right or smart or cool, but just what makes it make sense for a kid to do the gross stuff he was doing. And he had retraced the vine in this group to figure out, oh my gosh, all this stuff that was done to me. So that's kind of how our trauma work goes with a kid. Saturday I got a call and he was suicidal. And so I said, get his butt out there, throw him the football, because that's what he and I did that day. And he got a great arm, by the way. Or playing ping pong, or moving, and get his puppy with him. And when I got there, he had that puppy in his face, and it was just licking all over him, and it de-escalated his 9 on the 0-10 scale down to a 6 in about 40 minutes. And so we used the puppies very strategically like that. Family week is real intensive for us, family therapy. We had 16 families, or 16 couples in family week last week. Because the nature of what we do is not superficial or just in behavioral terms. It's like what makes you make sense, parents, because a lot of our boys' shame that leads to them acting out is trauma to the parents. And then that shame-based system or atmosphere is passed on to the kids without anything happening to them. That's like a direct big T or little t trauma. We had 16 out of 16 parents put trauma on the table. 13 of the 16, it was sexual trauma when they were little. And it's like, and that is what's getting played out in most of the kids of Capstone that we get to work at, I'm sure, with you as well. So we're now getting together when I get back to get Pine Grove and On-Site and Judy Crane to set up intensives for all 16 out of 16 parents, which has never been that big of a deal, but it was that kind of good work. Just randomly, we do a sibling intensive. We charge for this because we have to pull people off the schedule. The week before graduation, for 3 days, they can bring siblings, and our parents are almost all jumping all over this, and we've seen a lot of benefit to come with that. We're tobacco-free, no phones, no video games. They watch movies twice a week. They go crazy at first because their brain's having to not be occupied by screen time or electronic brain stimulation, which is helping them. Okay, let me just see if I've got anything else in your... By the way, we should get our CARF letter any day. We've done all that CARF stuff, and we're told that, yeah, we passed it, and I think that's kind of a nice thing for us to get that kind of organized, because most of the time, you know, my brain, ADHD brain, that I don't want cured, goes in that direction of just, you know, what's going on today with the system, and having to dot those I's with 1,400 plus standards was good for us. So hopefully we'll get to put that on our website and act like we're smart about something before too long. So anyway, I guess that's about an overview. You got questions?
What
Yes.
about the outings that you do?
The outings? Which ones? Well, we go to the liquor store.
Canoes.
We actually do go to the liquor store. Relapse prevention, we do a lot of things that are very experiential and borderline illegal, but it's like it really works well. I'm being real serious with you, because when a kid's sitting there going, I'm not going to do any more drugs, I ain't going to do this. And then you put him in there, and all of a sudden his body physiologically triggers until he's crying or he's hyperventilating or whatever, and he's like, oh, maybe I need to look at maybe some more of that first step, 1, 2, 3. Because our guys don't do 12 steps. I said this last time. They just do 1, 2, 3 over and over again. It's hard to bounce them out into number 4 and keep going. But when they get busted with their body, that helps. But we do, Friday all day is off campus. Rock climbing, kayaking, canoeing, fishing, caving, those kind of things to try to do a displacement therapy with them off campus. Yes, sir?
How do you deal with potential animal cruelty with the puppy and stuff like that?
We watch that real close. If you've got a kid with attachment, we've had a couple from, you know, they were born in Romania and et cetera, and you go real slow with them and watch them, because we have a puppy guy that's, meaning a staff person that's always on hands. We don't ever have guys without eyes on them. We only had a couple times where a kid was rough with them, and then we were able to get in and show him. One kid didn't want to even touch his dog, and so the therapist on his own just brought the puppy to therapy every day and didn't even say, hey, won't you pet the puppy? We were just sitting there petting the puppy, and about the 6-week mark, the kid started touching it, and by the time he left, you couldn't pull it out of his hands. It's like that was an attachment change, of a paradigm shift in his brain, to be honest with you. Yes?
Have you ever had a situation where the client went home and unfortunately relapsed, and then what happens to the puppy?
Well, puppy just have to, I mean, nothing happens to the puppy. And we have lots of kids that go home and relapse. You know, it's like, I actually tell them I wish they'd all relapse in the first 2 weeks, because their parents could go, oh my goodness, you mean the miracle's not there, we're going to have to work at this for 2 or 3 years. But the puppy, doesn't, nothing happens with just a relapse. You know, in other words, the boys that take their puppies home, which is 90-some%, you know, they build a kennel, we give them the plans, they're a part of their everyday responsibility, and they want them to be with them, unless the parents are trying to steal them, which is what happens a lot of times, because the family kind of orchestrates around this thing. So if there's a relapse, if there's a cycle relapse, you don't have any trouble with the parents taking care of it for at least a period of time. You know,
So if they come back, do they bring the puppy with them?
if they come back
To you.
to treatment, if they were to come back to us, yes. We actually have a little boy there now, and his dog Avery, which is unbelievable, already retrieving ducks and doing everything else. You know, he's there. He was 14 with us when he came. First time, now he's 16, and very, very different young man at this point in time.
One time I did an intervention right in Little Rock. We had the puppy out in the car, and he was a heroin addict. He was about 16 or so, I guess. Anyway, well, he wasn't going to hear me or the family or anything else, and you know, I'll go to hell.
Don't tell John Southward about
No. The thing about it was sitting in there, and I did the intervention, and I texted outside the car for one of his counselors. I said, "Bring that puppy in." So we're sitting there. Finally, the kid came inside from the alley, and he sat down. Pretty soon, they brought that little puppy, and the kid's sitting there. They just kind of put the puppy in his arms. The kid started to cry and started to pet the puppy. I suppose I got to go to that goddamn treatment center. You got that right. He did well, didn't he?
He did.
His family just hung right in there. They were really strong. But you ought to go up there and see these puppies and what happens. Rick?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I met Adrian, I don't know, 9, 10 years ago, and was impressed with him then, and then I've got the chance to visit Capstone a few times and look at the operation, and that's impressive. But I've always felt, and now I just kind of know that, and Adrian's become a pretty good friend over the years, and he just puts his heart and soul in this place, and he's a guy that really, and honestly, more so than me, or most people I know, walks the walk and talks the talk, you know, and that's what's really impressive about the place.
Yes.
I like the fact that he's also a professor at Harding University, and he handpicks his
He
staff.
steals his
He steals his staff from Harding.
That is not the way you say it. This is
Okay, well, he said steals.
strategic interviewing.
Okay, strategic interviewing.
You ought to go up there and see it. He takes the cream of the crop. Does that
Yes,
get
he
down?
does.
Takes
He
the cream
takes
of the crop, which they are, brings them over, they do their first year, whatever, and then he handpicks these counselors. And he really does a marvelous job. So he really watches the parents.
Strategic interview.
I like that. You should become a politician. Any questions? Thank you.